So the time is finally here. This month, Nissan is releasing the new form of the Z. Now, the last time they did this was 2009, but we're hoping in this video we're going to explain to you what we're excited about. So yeah, like we said, the last time they redesigned the Z was back in 2009, and that ran all the way until like this year.
Yeah, which seems like 50 years ago now, but it was only about 11, 12 model years. So it's about time for it to be revamped. Ideally, manufacturers will update their vehicles every 6 or 7 years or so because now that people are financing vehicles 6 or 7 years even, well, guess what? By the time you're done paying off your vehicle, oh, here's the brand new version of it.
Right.
So they try to line it up like that.
So for a while, a lot of consumers out there in the car market, as well as car reviewers, always had the same issues with the 370Z, and the Z model itself is, since 2009, it has been the same car, so very outdated infotainment coming into 2020, probably and arguably the worst one in its segment.
Yeah.
And is also only a naturally aspirated V6, producing a little over 300 horsepower, so not exciting. And so at that point, the only people you'd see driving these cars right now are people that would buy them aftermarket, put new exhausts, camber them a little bit. It gets a little strange out there with some of the markets that deal with these cars. But all in all, there was nobody that's buying this car and is just okay with it the way it sits.
Yeah, and when you're buying this thing brand new, being an outdated interior, an outdated design that's over 10 years old now, and a naturally aspirated V6 that really isn't that quick compared to its competition,
Right.
it's a really expensive price tag to ask for a vehicle like that. And I mean, we've seen this with other Nissan vehicles before. We talked about it in the past before, but the Frontier has been the same truck for like 10 years. There's rumors of that being updated too, but that's a different video for a different time. But like, point being is Nissan, you gotta update stuff faster than 10 years. Especially when and really, they're being pushed to it at this point because we just had the Supra come out, and Supra Z cars, all these Japanese sports cars have always been going at it. Yes, so it's about time. Good timing for it, I guess, but like maybe you should have done it a couple years ago, but better now than another 10 years.
So the theory is out there with the new Z car coming out this month is that they're going to share over the same twin turbo V6 that's used in the Q60 and the Q50, which I have no issues with.
Much improvement.
Especially with, they already have the ability with the Red Sport 400 that you find on the Q60 and the Q50.
Yeah.
It pumps out right around 400 horsepower, which in our opinion, that could match why they called it the 400Z.
Yeah. And when you have something, for those you don't know, Infiniti is a luxury brand of Nissan. When you have those same brands under the same umbrella and your better sports car is not a Z car, that's kind of insulting to yourself, in my opinion,
Right.
because the Z name has such heritage and sports car, legend to it, that a Q60 and Infiniti that's only an American brand and it's not an actual Japanese sports car, like that's kind of a slap to your own face, really, Nissan.
Yeah, I think Nissan have been dealing with a lot of internal economic issues with themselves, and Renault stepped in the mid 2010s. There's a lot of things going on, but I do think they're sitting in a much better spot. And quite honestly, I hope that when this gets released, I hope it gets as much notoriety as the Bronco did, as these other cars are getting.
Yeah.
And I really hope that it comes out soon, because I know Nissan really needs like this straight injection of excitement, because at this point the most exciting thing you get in a Nissan lineup is the Rogue, and that's just a disgrace.
Yeah, when your most exciting vehicle is an SUV, I mean, sure, your most exciting vehicle is a Nissan GTR, but that's a whole different customer base that you're shooting for right there.
And that's another can of worms that we can go over another time.
Not everybody can afford a $100,000 plus sports car,
$200,000.
Yeah, if you get some of the higher trimmed ones, and some dealers that are marking them up. But yeah, it's good now that we're having this, and it really only plays more into the sports car back and forth that we have going right now. Like we with the American brands, we have Bronco and Jeep throwing back and forth with their off-roading stuff. We even have the TRX and the Raptor throwing back and forth, and now we have Supra and the Z car throwing back and forth. So hopefully this is a good launch for Nissan, and really it's an exciting car that will come out. We're expecting it to be as a 2021 model, so hope maybe on sale later this year, because that's usually when dealerships start to get their next year models, is at the end of the current year.
Right.
Or it could be early next year, so hopefully within the next year we'll actually see this at some dealerships.
Yeah, and either way, I think this should be, and some of the things that have been teased out, this should be something that's sharing over a look from the old Datsun days.
Yep.
As well as some of the more recent Nissan Z models that they've had over the years, which that's the best part about it. I think that they're finally listening to their consumers. They're making a faster vehicle, as well as making it look the way, or at least what we hope it will look, the way that we've loved all the other Z cars of the past.
Yeah, so like Josh said, the front of it kind of looks like an older 280 or a Datsun, and then the back of it looks like a 300ZX in the 90s, the second generation of it, which to me, that's one of my favorite Z cars. So to see that put into it and other Z cars just all piled on, to kind of throwing it back to this legendary sports car, that gets me pretty hyped up for it.
I just really hope, I know they haven't really released much video or anything or content of this, but I hope that the interior, like between the technology that they're using and whether the transmission is manual or not, which has been leaked, there's a potential it might have a manual as well as an automatic, so not leaving the manual world just yet.
Hopefully not. Save the manuals.
But I think that they really need to show their consumers that they're willing to just segue away from what they've been doing. Because it will be a death sentence to them if they were to just put something just a little bit better than what the 370Z had. I think this needs to be a step into the times. It needs to have a lot of digital stuff going on, especially in that market. With the Supra, you have an entirely digital display. You have a nice car. Like, I think this needs to be up in that realm, especially if you're going to charge between $40 to $50, even $60,000 for this car.
Yeah.
That's what I'm expecting. It needs to have the tech.
Yeah, I hope it's not 60. I mean, if they come out, which you can only assume they come out with the Nismo trim later,
Right.
I can understand that being like higher 50s and 60s if it's a 450 horsepower car, with a twin turbo V6. But starting out, it shouldn't be something like 40 grand for a base model, because that's who are you selling that to? If I'm gonna go buy a base Z car for 40 grand, I can go buy a better, higher trim Mustang, Camaro, Challenger, or even almost at some of these prices you'd sell at the upper end, go buy a new Corvette. So you need to be able to make this an awesome car for somewhat of a really kind of need to undercut the Supra almost, because the Supra, in my opinion, is a little bit expensive. We talked about it in a previous video. But being able to price this competitively will really make or break this Z car, regardless of what comes out in it.
Tough recipe.
Yeah.
But we will be looking forward to this release. Right now, it's kind of funky. Nissan has said it's on the 16th, but Car and Driver says the 15th. But so just be on the lookout across all the social media out there as Car and Driver. We're also staying in touch with it. We're excited, but you guys be sure to not miss that. Also, if you guys are really looking forward to that car as much as we are, go ahead and let us know in the comments section, as well as if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and also hit the bell to let you know whenever we have new content coming out.
Yeah, so without further ado, that's Gulf Coast Gearheads signing off.